indicative of the higher wind coming in through Roanoke County into Franklin County. But it's also something to note here behind it. There's no weakening of the, there's weakening, but there's no ending of the rain. Sometimes, as I mentioned, you see a band come through and then you see the rainfall clear out behind it. And certainly it's gone back in Franklin County. You're about to, get doused here as you go into Bedford County and Manita down to Smith Mountain Lake and Snow Creek. But if you make your way back into Roanoke, it's not raining quite as hard now. However, it's still raining. So that's a concern to me because I'm seeing the fact that the upper energy is still well to the west and there's still some yellow in behind this. That indicates that we'll have this heavy rain on and off throughout the night. It's not going to be consolidated into this one line. I think it's going to be for the next 3 hours or so, it's going to be fairly moderate to at times heavy rain. Now, the rain gauges across the area are starting to get to that point where we're seeing the flood advisories issued. And I want to pull up what we've got going on here, and you can kind of see a rectangle right through here. This is a flood advisory. It's in effect for Allegheny County, southern Bath County, into western Botetourt County. This is for rainfall that's already got up to about 1 to 2.5 inches. And we've got flash flooding possible in the steep mountainous terrains in this area that's occurring right now. I'm trying to get the actual flood advisory statement up there, but this is one flood advisory. There's another flood advisory for far southwestern Virginia, another one, and now a flood warning in effect for Watauga County. Into North Carolina around the Boone area. But right now, first and foremost, it's really just a lot of heavy rain here in Buchanan, Fincastle, the Troutville. We've got that going all the way down the Westlake Corner, western Bedford County around Montville. It's pouring down rain, and more of that occurring down to the south as you make your way into North Carolina, northwest Henry County around Philpott Lake. Some very heavy rainfall as well. Put this into motion, and again, you can kind of see how it intensifies, and then we start to see by the time it gets to Rocky Mount, it just passed over the TV station, it gets a little bit of momentum, and then the momentum eases off again. So this was a temporary strengthening of the winds, and if I put the base velocity on here, it may take a second to load, but there are some very gusty winds within that rainfall because this rain is able to drag down the higher winds that are around 5,000 feet down to the surface. So there you see the wind shift as you see right through here. That's straight line wind that has blew out part of this line here. And values here are around 45 miles per hour in some instances, especially near the parkway. So, saturated ground and lots of heavy rain and that wind that's exhaling right now through Franklin County. It's starting to weaken again. As I mentioned, it was kind of a temporary thing. It's starting to put the brakes on again. And the reason why is because, again, the upper level part of the system is off to the west. If you look at the water vapor imagery, you can see now we're going negative tilt aloft. And you can draw a line that marks the yellow here. That's the dry air from the moist air. I'll take the radar off so you can get a better idea of what's going on. And the wind is following the contours like this. So that's like a pendulum. And as it pivots through the area, the north side of this will stay about where it's at, it may dig down to the south. This part's going to swing out. And so we're not getting into the dry part of the system anytime soon. You can see that it was moving east, but there's so much more energy diving around the back side of this that it's just a continuous flow of moisture into the area. In fact, I've been looking at the cloud top temperatures, and the fact that they are still fairly cold through here is an indicator of what's to come. I want to take off some of the contours. So this is just satellite, okay? But we're looking at where the moisture is deepest, where those cloud top temperatures are coldest. And you can see that through southern West Virginia and the northwest North Carolina, there's still some cold cloud top temperatures here. And that is deeper moisture. That's a lot of lift that's going to be moving to the north and northeast over the next several hours. So the rain, even though you've got that one heavy line that just moved through Franklin County and going into western Bedford County, I think that's going to die off, and you're going to see some more heavy rain redevelop back here to the west as this energy continues to move in, because everything's tied together and the line itself isn't everything. The line itself is just a symptom of what's occurring aloft. So definitely some high rainfall rates in here. Over the past hour, we're nearing in on 0.6 inches of rain over the past hour or so, up to almost an inch in rain an hour there in Patrick County. That's where it's raining really hard, where it's been raining hard just north of Stewart. And I was also looking at the rain gauges here in the Craig County and western Botetourt County. Over the past 12 hours or so, we've had upwards of 1.5, close to 2 inches of rain. The other area of concern starting to be in northwest North Carolina, where we've got rainfall that's on the order of about 2 inches, probably nearing 2.5 inches actually in some of these spots over the past few hours, or at least since the rain started here in this area, far southwest Virginia. It started around 5, 6 o'clock this evening. Most of the rain that has fallen in Craig County and the Roanoke fell between 11 o'clock p.m. and now. Two special weather statements in effect. There's actually a slew of them down here through Winston-Salem, but we just talked about the one in Roanoke. That's with the line that's coming through right now. And then you've got another special weather statement for gusty winds upwards of 40 miles per hour in effect for the Martinsville, Eden area. Okay, and you can read it there on your screen. I love this new program. This is pretty neat. Stoneville, torrential rainfall, winds in excess of 30 miles per hour, which again isn't a big deal by itself, but when you combine it with all the heavy rain and the saturated ground and everything like that, that's where you're getting into a bit of a problem out there. I've got some advanced stuff I'm looking at here on the screen just to see. That's a different look at the overall radar. And I believe I can go back to single site radar and we can check out the Blacksburg site here. So it's not just one line, and that was my fear, is that, sometimes we get that one line that comes through and then that's it. This is going to be probably at least one or two lines. There's another cluster of some heavy rain up and down I-77 from Withville into Tazewell County, or actually in the Bland County right now. Here's how it looks on the live radar scan as we're getting this information in as we speak. And there's no lightning out there, at least that's a cloud to ground that the lightning detection network is picking up on. Just a very heavy rain band that continues here across Botetourt County and the Buchanan and western Bedford County. You can see it bowing out in some instances. But again, it's putting the brakes on once again, and there's heavier rainfall that's starting to fill back in behind it. I know what I wanted to show you now. I wanted to go over to Virginia 511 to show you that this is the highway situation. We've got on Interstate 81, mile marker 122.5 in Montgomery County. You've got a tractor-trailer accident. All northbound lanes are closed, and northbound traffic's being detoured at exit 118C onto US 460 East, and then back on the I-81 North at exit 132. That was the update as of 5 minutes ago. So there's some traffic issues going on 81 North in Montgomery County because of a tractor-trailer accident. We've also got, got a tree down in Roanoke County, Kitland Drive from Bower Road. And we've also got, reading through some of this, got another tree down here in Roanoke County, Old Mountain Road, Reed Mountain area. Just kind of looking for any other alerts as far as the weather's concerned. That's all I see right now. It's a couple of trees down in Roanoke County and a tractor-trailer accident on 81. I also wanted to show you the water situation. and that is right here. So let me refresh this. This is looking at the eye flows across the area. These are automated rainfall gauges that will color code themselves depending on how much rain has fallen over a certain amount of time, and that's how we know that flooding may be going on. So if you look across Roanoke County, for instance, and we look here, we've got a couple that are in the yellow, and many of them are just in the green. So in their yellow, they're within 70% of flash flood guidance. And flash flood guidance is that number that we have to reach in a certain amount of time to get flash flooding. When you get into the yellows and especially the reds is where you're going to start to see flooding. So over the past hour, we're in the green, still in Peters Creek area of Roanoke County. We've had 3/4 of an inch of rain just about. Over the past 6 hours, it's almost up to an inch. Over the past 12 hours, it's right at an inch. So if it gets above that, we're going to start to see some issues in Roanoke County as well. Crawford's Ridge, kind of the similar here values around the inch 0.92 into Roanoke County. We can go back out here and check out Craig County because we've got some red gauges here showing up, and that's where we're getting close to seeing the flooding that's going on. And this is why in Craig County we do have a flood advisory in effect. Johns Creek, over the past 24 hours, we've had 1.68 inches of rain, but most of that has fallen within the past 3 hours at 1.16 inches there. The yellow areas, again, is where not as much rain in a amount of time has fallen, so about 1 inch over the past 12 hours, and this is in Craig County. We can check out some other locations here. I want to see what's been happening across, let's see, I want to go into the Highlands too. Looks like Bath County there near Trapper's Lodge has got some red here showing up on the iFlows gauge. 1.68 inches of rain over the past 12 hours. Over the past 1 hour, it's been 0.56. And over the past 3 hours, so in the 3 to 12 hour period is where we've had the most rain, and that's totaling almost getting up to 1.68 inches of rainfall there. So we'll widen it back out here just to give you a general idea of the entire area. All the green is okay right now, although it's you're still going to have some urban flooding where we're having this line move through and some gusty winds, but where we're starting to see the reds and the yellows, those are the areas experiencing the problems. And you'll find that the National Weather Service in Blacksburg has those areas under the flood advisories currently as that rainfall moves in. So here it is on the 3D radar, and again, you've got that one big line that's moving through right now. This one right here has the wind with it, that has the heavier rainfall with it, and that's where no doubt you're seeing the ponding of water on the roadways. And then behind it, it's more of just a lot of yellow here, and what this is just moderate rain to heavy rain that may not be occurring as a downpour, but it's still raining steadily at a very quick pace. So it's not the kind of thing that produces flash flooding per se, but it's going to lead to more streams and creeks continuing to rise in that area. Across most of our area. Now back off to the west, I do like to do this from time to time. You can see that we don't have a lot of development out toward the Bristol area, but that's really deceiving because everything is coming in still out of the south. We've got severe weather in South Carolina, and if I put this into motion, you can see again the movement here. I want you to get an idea of this loop. It's starting to go in directly from the south to the north. So even though it's dry out back across far southwest Virginia, even though it's getting dry out here, this dry air is not going to make it in. You've got the moisture that's coming up from this direction. Now I want to draw an arrow. There we go. So this is your low-level jet. This is the dry air. And so what happens is you start to get these training areas of rain that will continue to develop. And the reason why we're looking across Charlotte is because that is the direction that our rainfall will be coming from over the next few hours. So we're nearing 2 o'clock now. We're going to be looking at this, I would say, until probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe even up to 6, 7 o'clock in the morning in some locations, especially east of the mountains, because all this will have to eventually move into Lynchburg and Danville with time as well, even though it's already raining pretty hard right now, as you can see there. So from Walkertown to Clemens, all the way up through Stewart and Patrick County, you've got some very, very heavy rainfall. And let's see, let's put up the latest image. There's the current look. Again, notice that since I've been on the air now for a few minutes, for about 17 minutes, and this heavy rainfall out here across western Bedford County is not moving to the east very fast at all. So again, this is now putting on the brakes, and it's starting to come in directly from the south. And that's not good news, because that's likely going to lead to some more flooding issues. This is off of radar scope, and I wanted to show the Doppler estimated rainfall. It's going to be a little bit hard to see. Let me widen it back out here. I wonder if I can do this, and it looks better. Looks about the same. Okay. We'll do our inspection. This is where the radar's guessing basically at how much rain has fallen. So it's not going to be perfect, but you can see Rocky Mount about 0.79 inches. I've got about 0.66 in Redwood. And actually, if you look at the map here, that's not too far off from where the radar may be underestimating it by a little bit, but not much. But western Franklin County, it's up around an inch. And right on the parkway between Franklin and Floyd County, it's over an inch. But look, we've got a bullseye here showing up around the Covington area. As I mentioned, the eye flows are right in the same zone here, but 1.72 inches of rain south of Covington. And then as you go into Craig County, it's over an inch. There's signal fade through Botetourt County, just the way it hits Poor Mountain, but you probably got closer to an inch and a half there as well. And then if you move into these blue areas, getting around the Henry County area into Patrick County, crossing over into Stokes County, your amounts are very, very close to 2 inches. And our observations are showing that this radar may be a little bit, the estimation that you're looking at is probably just a little bit low. So we're probably at about 2.25 in the higher amounts. But we are starting to see now in northwest North Carolina, where we've seen the flood advisories issued first, amounts that are over 2 inches at about 2.09. And you've really got to go into some of these pixels here, but that's how radar works. Right up against the mountainous terrain there in North Carolina, we're up to about 2 inches, with more rain to come, unfortunately. Want to see if we're filling in any more heavy rainfall. And as I anticipated, this line that moved through still is in Lexington or up against Rockbridge County, the Botetourt County. Let's go in a little tighter here. It's west of Lexington right now, south of Goshen. Around Buchanan, still raining very heavily on Buchanan right now. And again, the line has made it to Manita and North Shore. It's pouring down rain in Union Hall along Smith Mountain Lake here. And then you make your way down across Snow Creek. It's now raining very heavily there. But that line has not really strengthened. If anything, it's probably going to weaken a little bit more as it moves farther away from the energy. And again, you're probably going to see this rain here fill back in and get a little heavier, I think, as the coming hours approach. So we've got a lot more in the way of moisture now, because what we've done is we've reached a point at the storm system where we're going to look at the south now and not the west. The front is on our doorstep, but it's not moving very far to the east. Charlotte is now under a flash flood warning, the city of Charlotte, until 4:45. They've had locally 3 inches of rain. Or 3 inches of rain expected from Rock Hill to Fort Mill in Charlotte. and there are embedded thunderstorms there. So sometimes the thunderstorms can take away from the rainfall that we get here, but it's part of the same system now. So they will probably be the heavy rain with them absorbed within the greater flow that we've got across the area. This was the weather balloon out of Blacksburg, and it showed an unstable air mass. This is for one point in the sky. The winds were coming in out of the southeast, and then they veered around. So this is what we call warm air advection. It tends to lead to lift, but it's a very moist weather balloon reading here with precipitable water around an inch, but that has now increased. You see the red and the green very close together all the way up. This is the top of the troposphere here, and this is the bottom where all the weather occurs. And when they're close together like that, you've got moisture, and you've got, obviously likelihood of rain with a weather balloon that looks like that. And that's what goes into these computer models that we're looking at. I want to look at the latest HER model here off of the weather.cod site. And we don't quite have the 5Z yet, but this is the 4Z. So we're going to scroll down and advance this. And this takes us to right now. Then as we go into 8-9Z, so this is looking at 4 to 5 in the morning. Your heavy line is only around Lynchburg. There may be another line that tries to develop out here across Floyd County into Henry County and going into Craig County. These areas have already had a lot of rain, but by 5 a.m. we'll be looking at probably some more. There are some breaks that are showing up in northwest North Carolina that fill back in. And look at this. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning. So really by the next 5 hours or so, it's still pouring down rain according to the model. And that looks reasonable to me. You've got a line that goes through Raleigh, the initial line, but again, we've got the front that's slowing down because the upper level winds are still coming in like this, and they're still strongest right up against the mountains at this time. And your dip in the jet stream is way off back here across Kentucky. So what that does is it pulls the moisture back. So that line goes east, but then we're pulling that moisture back, and we're still getting moderate to heavy rainfall. So there's still a lot of rain to come. And in fact, if we look at the rainfall forecast off of the HER, this is additional rainfall now of up to 3 inches in spots. So that's some serious rainfall. I know some of this has probably already occurred, but that's a lot more rain to come, and that's typically what happens with the models. They won't see this until a couple of hours before it happens. They can say, okay, we're going to get more rain now. It's still going to be a situation that's over with by the afternoon, I would say, but the entire morning right now, to me, looks like we're going to have, at least through the early morning hours, some problems out there, and then things will taper off probably by lunchtime. The back edge, if there is a back edge, it doesn't really get through here until about 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So a good part of the morning will be spent within this broader area of moderate to heavy rainfall. And it looks like this is the RAP model that it is definitely seeing that. Now, if we look aloft at about 10,000 feet up, this is at 700 millibars for all you weather geeks. This shows us the ribbon of moisture and the convergence of moisture, and our time period that we are currently at is right here. So our line is where my cursor is, where that crosshair is. That's where the line of the heaviest rain is. But again, as I mentioned, the upper level line is back here across Bristol, and that is not making any progress. This is going into 9Z, which is about 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it still is only around the Wytheville area, any back edge or dry intrusion to this thing. So you've got a conveyor belt of moisture that just comes in right out of the south, right on into 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and then by 8 o'clock in the morning, you finally start to chip away out of the west with some drier air across the darker colors here throughout the mountain empire. But you still got probably some, even at 8 o'clock in the morning, some very heavy rain from Lynchburg to Danville on 29. So if you have any plans in the morning, if you're going to work, you definitely are going to have a hard time with some high water out there. Trees can be very dangerous when they fall. They just topple over in situations like this when you get up to 30-mile-per-hour winds, and it becomes a big issue out there. So just to recap, it's bad. We're looking at a flooding event. We anticipated this to be more of a flooding event, not a severe weather event, but there are embedded areas of wind within this as well as that rain just fills in. So it's a totally full scope here on the radar picture, and there will be more than likely additional flood advisories at least coming out over the next hour or two. And again, over the next probably 5 hours or so, we're still going to see some rainfall out there. I've got all the scanners on. I've got all the updates coming through, so I'll continue to listen in and give you more updates as we go through the early morning hours. Be careful.